Music producers, it's Curtis King at CurtisKingBeats.com, and you're watching another episode of Critique My Beats. This is the show where you submit in your beats for constructive feedback, meant to build up your empire and not burn your building down. What does that mean? You're not going to hear trash feedback like, oh, your beats are trash, or your snares sound like cold nipples that have been chipped off with an ice pick. You never hear things like that about your music. You're gonna always hear things that are gonna help you grow, things that you can walk away from and say, you know what, I think I can attack that and come back even stronger. If you would like to be on a future episode of Critique My Beats, please visit CurtiqueMyBeats.com for more information. There's 3 different options that you have, depending on how many beats you want to get critiqued, as well as if you want to walk away with some drum kits in the process. Either way, let's get straight to it. The first producer is actually a producer that is returning yet again. Steve, aka Fresh Ire Music. He says, hi Curtis, sorry for sending in more beats so soon, but I decided to go ahead and start a website in the next month or so I could really use some more feedback on my beats before I started. I thought that by sending in more beats, you can get a better overview of my mixing and be able to help more. I've been battling with mental health issues for a few years now, which is why I titled one of the tracks called Go Mental, and the other track is a cross between electro and hip-hop music. Thank you for all of your YouTube videos and all you do for the community. Not a problem at all. You waited, which is good. I like to give people to wait so other people can get a chance to get their music heard, but you left us with 2 beats. Let's go ahead and listen to Go Mental first. Okay, so the first beat is called Go Mental, and I definitely could hear the changes that you have made within your mixing. I think the first thing that stood out for me was that snare was a lot more prevalent than I believe the beats that you had before. You definitely spent a lot of time mixing those drums, which I think is very important when you're talking about getting into the leasing business and having people who want to have an immediate reaction once they hear your beats. Now, the only things that are standing out to me right now as a critique, a few different things. One being that the sounds themselves do sound very outdated. They sound like a specific time within the underground spectrum or the independent rap world where it was sort of like a strange music sound that was very dominant in the mid 2000s, but even that strange music sound has kind of evolved into its own thing as well. And even from the use of the snare over a trap snare, I think there's certain things that, although they may feel like they're very minor things, those are things that you're going to want to pay more attention to, is that sounds go in cycles. And there are certain sounds that you put them together, synthesizers and whatnot. If you don't have a specific artist that you are working with, if you're trying to give this out to the general marketplace and you're not keeping an eye out or an ear out for what things people are listening to, if you can say that this, you feel like it aligns with that, I'd have to tell you that I'd have to disagree, because I don't feel like this aligns with the sound of today. I'm not telling you have to make what everybody else is making. I'm saying you must keep an eye out, an ear out for some of the textures that you're using. I think even like the synthesizers here were a bit harsh. The bass didn't really have a whole lot of presence within it. But these are easy tweaks, right? You find instruments, you could get Serum, honestly, and Serum would replace a lot of these synth instruments and it would feel a lot more rich. It would feel a lot more spacious. Right now, it feels really clouded because sometimes these sort of older sounds or these older VSTs, they just take up a lot of space. There's not too much texture and too much character to them. They just kind of are what they are. But I think that upgrading your sounds is still a priority, even within these beats right here. But let's go to the second beat, which is an electric. It's called Electro Hip. Okay, let's listen to that fresh ire. Okay, fresh ire music. As I'm listening to this, what I am noticing that I do enjoy is that these drums mixes are really sounding good. They are sounding like anthem songs. They're sounding like larger than life productions, at least within the percussion realm. Now, even when you did certain chord progressions within this, I think that it added to that atmospheric sound, that larger than life sound. But I think you're running to the same issue with this one as well, is that these sounds do sound dated, you know. And my thing is, it wouldn't be so much of a problem if you told me you want to kind of start up your website and go into the beat leasing business. It wouldn't be so much of a problem if you were not in an industry that's very trendy sometimes. And it's important for your success that you either corner a niche, which you could corner a niche by, you know, defining this sound as something that, no, this is my sound. I don't care what everybody else is doing. This is my sound, and this is specifically, you know, mid 2000s, yada, 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 whatever you want to call it. Position yourself as that, own it, but do not try to pass this off as being something that, oh, this is what everybody else is rapping on now. That's not what it is. This is its own sound, and it sounds like it's within a certain time period. And I think that you got to own that. If you own that, you could find your own niche. You could find your own audience for it. Will it be for everybody? No, my beats aren't for everybody. But you have to own whatever you consider this to be. More so than a rapper, probably needs more like a YouTuber. I could see somebody doing like some Adobe After Effects tutorials with this music in the background. I can see this being more so for YouTubers, more so. I really don't even see sync licensing, to be honest with you. But, you know, you got to figure it out. What is the niche that you want to cover, and then own that. I think that's very important. I think that's even more important than putting up your website. Before you get your website together, figure out what you're calling this and own that. Because, you know, if you sit down and you have an honest ear with yourself, you'll start to hear the things that I'm saying, is that some of these sounds do sound a bit dated. They sound a bit stockish. And these are easy fixes. You find a way to get your hands on some higher quality VSTs and synthesizers. You replace those instruments, as beats are going to sound completely different. But either way, thank you for submitting again. Your SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/FreshIreMusic. Appreciate it. Let's go to the next producer. Next producer is Brazen of KP. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate what you do. Short and simple and straight to the point. I appreciate that always. So your beat is called Fire and Ice. You also left with a Spotify link. Super dope, man. So Fire and Ice, listen to this beat right now. All right, Brazen of KP. So you left us with a beat called Fire and Ice. And as I'm listening to it, the things that stand out to me that I like are your melodic choices. I like the arrangement of the melodies. I like how you brought sort of that wow, 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 wow. I feel like there's a sample that I recognize. I don't know. It's not coming to me right now. But the way that you brought that in, took it off, then brought it in again at the right place, it really sets the mood. It sets a scene within your mind as a rapper or a singer who's starting to write to the song. You are giving this person elements to work with that is going to help them build the story that is going to accompany this particular production. That's important. Now, I wish that same creativity would have went into the drums, because there's two things that I have an issue with the drums. The first thing is that they sound a bit thin. And I think that if you're using a drum loop, which it sounds like you might be using a drum loop in this, that drum loop is just carrying a completely different frequency focus that you probably would need to manually do some EQing on. You would need to figure out how to get more of the bass to mid frequencies out of that, because as of right now, it's just sounding like really dominant upon the high frequencies, and that snare is just not. You know, when I talk about titty snares, I'm getting close to that. You know, you don't want to do the nipple snares. You want to make sure that you got something that carries a bit of weight, especially for a beat like this. To me, it's asking for a drum break. It could ask for a drum break, but I would just use a drum break that's just heavier in more frequencies. This one right now is very dominant upon the higher mid to highs. And I think that that is thinning your beat out, and it's taking away from some of the larger than life features that this one can have too. It has a lot of similarity to the last beat we listened to, in that it has the opportunity to be somebody's like stadium music type song. Like this can be a really emotional song for a writer, but you gotta beef those drums up. Definitely the low end sounded good, and the mix on the melody sounded good. I probably would have added a reverb to that guitar just so that it doesn't come in so harsh and that it has a little bit more character. Maybe even a slight delay would have added some more character. But either way, I appreciate you sharing this with us. Your Twitter is at Brazen of KP. Okay, of KP, and then you give us a Spotify, which is right there. Super dope, man. Well, if you haven't already, man, go ahead and submit your Spotify link of a beat that you want to have added to the music producer, dope music producers that sell beats online. Since you already got your beats up there, which is awesome, that's good. Submit your beats off to Curtis at CurtisKingBeats.com. I will get at you soon, sir. I enjoyed that. So, next producer. Producer's name is Nicholas Carlo, I believe. He says, "Hey Curtis, my name is Nicholas. I'm 15 years old and I come from Denmark. I have been making beats for about 10 months. I would like to hear your opinion on these two tracks and what I could do better. I think my biggest weakness is mixing, but I'm not sure. Really love your channel. You are one of those who keeps pushing me forward." Okay, so Nicholas Carlo, you left us with two different beats. You are 15. You've been 10 months into this. I'm very eager to hear your progress. Let's go ahead and listen to the first one, which is Metro Boomin beat.
Carlo on the beat.
Okay, Nicholas Carlo, I actually like that one. I think that you're a few mixes away from having this track really hold the weight that it could. This is actually very impressive for somebody that is 10 months into this at 15. You know, in the beginning, all we know is how to sort of emulate, or even more so imitate, our favorite producers, and we kind of don't have textbooks for this, so that's our first schooling, is imitating. So I hear a lot of Metro Boomin in your beat, and I don't necessarily know what your sound is, so I don't know how much of that is you in that beat, but I hear a lot of Metro Boomin influence in it, which is nothing wrong with that. Eventually you will separate from that, you will find your voice, and you will no longer need to even categorize this as a Metro type Boomin beat, because you're going to find a way to not only own it, but be proud of the sound that you have. I like the hi-hat work that you did in it. I thought that was interesting, going from the high frequency to the lower, or the high pitch to the lower pitches. I thought that was nice. It gave a nice variation. I thought the 808 itself had a great presence within it. I think it did overlap a little bit, and in certain places it kind of bleeded into the next 808, which you just want to tighten up and shape your 808s, which is something that obviously you can learn from my channel. You can learn it from the BusyWorks Beats TV channels as well, but learn how to shape your 808s. Also too, I think overall, big picture, it just sounds like the mix is very timid. And I understand, you're 15, 10 months into this, you don't want to mess nothing up. You got a good loop going on, you got a nice little melody going, you don't want to mess that up. So what happens is that we end up being very timid because we don't know, okay, where am I going to mess something up? I don't want to mess anything up. I got a good thing going here. But that timid nature will cease to exist the further you get into this. The better you get, the more you'll be like, man, I don't care what they're talking about. I want to mess up, and I'm going to mess up on purpose. So embrace that. Find your voice within this. I think we'll just listen to the next beat, which is Island World.
Carlo on the beat.
Okay, Nicholas Carlo. So the next beat was called Island World. I enjoyed that one. That's probably my favorite of the two, and for a few different reasons. One, it gave a lot more space. I think that the hi-hats were even more creative on this one. I think that the snare had a different presence. The only things that stand out to me, and it's the critique that I would have added to the last beat and I forgot at the end, is that more layers on your drums. First of all, I think you need to add more layers with each other. Like, don't be afraid to stack your claps, stack your snares with claps, stack your kicks up, because this is something that I feel like was really missing from this. It's missing sort of that really thumpy, almost like heartbeatish type of kick that you hear. If Metro Boomin is one of your favorite producers, go listen back to like that 8-bar mark. Yes, he lets that 808 breathe, but he has that kick that comes in, so boom, boom. Like, you need that to come in. I feel like that's very important to the attitude of the beat and the way that a rapper interprets it and the way that they rap over it, or a singer if they approach this particular beat. That kick, you cannot leave that out, because if not, it's going to sound like a long breakdown for a beat, and I know that's not what you intended for it to be. So mess around with that. I would say that once again, the mixing overall is still a bit timid, but with confidence, you'll try new things. It just seems like right now you are completely shying away from the red, man. It's this trap music, fam. You can have fun with the red. And what I mean by that is you can blast through the meters, right? And then pull it back where it needs to be pulled back, but just have fun. have fun. And it seems like there's certain elements I hear where you're having fun, but overall, that's my message to you, is you're in a good place right now where your beats are sounding good. You obviously have access to some good sound. So I would say that it's a matter of just stacking them up, probably doing a lot more sound design. And as you get more into it, you'll learn the need to run things through a low pass filter, the need to take certain drums out and just leave the melody, and then the need to have a 2-bar mark where there's like nothing at all except for the melody, and then it comes back to the drums. These things are very important. They're not just things that producers do when they get bored. Either way, you left us with your Instagram, which is _ Carlo _ and then your SoundCloud is Nicholas Carlo. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go to the next producer. So Mr. Ace, I believe your name is Ace. First of all, appreciate the opportunity. My name is Leo. Producer name is Ace. I've been making beats for quite some years now and recently discovered your channel on YouTube. Has opened up my mind to much more. Just the advice you have been giving to other producers has already expanded my knowledge and ability within FL Studio. That's all I'm here for. Thank you for taking the time and advice you provide. I look forward to hearing how I can continue to perfect my craft. I don't know why I was struggling to the end of that. You left us with 2 beats. The first one is called Justice. Lelendre. Okay, so the first beat you left us with is a beat called Justice, which is Immortal Technique. I can definitely hear Immortal Technique over this. And for those of you that are not familiar, you know, Immortal Technique is definitely a legend within the underground hip hop world. Definitely somebody that would rap over a sample beat like this, a beat that is very textured, a beat that has a lot of, how can I put this? It has a lot of elements going on that make you want to think about deeper things, because Immortal Technique is definitely one of those dudes that leave you with lyricism that have you thinking. And I listen to this beat and I hear the textures you have going on, and it sounds like a sample, which I gotta say, producers, from here on out, we can't do samples. We cannot do samples. The YouTube cannot be put at risk. We got too much work that we put into this to risk it for some sample beats. I love my sample beats. I love it. I wish it was different policies. We just can't do it no more, unfortunately. This will be the last episode that we do that. I'll make sure I say that from the beginning of the episode next time. But I think that the sample choice that you use had a lot of things going on in the background for the verse part, at least the first part of the beat. I feel like if you would have controlled those through EQing and cut some of those frequencies out, you would sound a lot more in control of the sample. Right now, the sample sounds too loud for the drums. I think that you could beef up the drums. I think that you could, you know, kind of align them with each other, but I think you still need to cut out certain frequencies and focus on really what the special part of that sample is. It may be only the strings that you find in the high frequency. It may be only, you know, the saxophone sounds that you find in the mid. Whatever it is, find that focus, zero in on it, like almost like a scope, and then let that shine, let that frequency shine. When it came to the chorus, it got more interesting. I feel like it actually started to get a bit more life, but I think that you're relying on this beat. You know, if you have to rely on this beat to present itself to an artist and them to say, that's the one, you're asking a lot right now of the way that you arranged it, because right now it takes a long time to get to the most interesting part, which for me is the chorus. with the saxophone, right? So maybe if you had a couple chops in the verse that kind of alluded that this has more within this sample beat, it would be great to place that within there. I think that would give a great feeling to the person that's getting ready to purchase that, you know what, there's more to this beat instead of just this loop, this endless loop where the sample doesn't sound like it's mixed. It sounds like it's kind of running the beat and you're not running the sample. So those are my few initial thoughts. Let's go to the second one, which is called Unfold. Very, very hypnotizing beat. I enjoy that one. It's called Unfold. It definitely has something that allures you in, Ace. It's something that as a rapper, if I'm approaching this beat, I'm already thinking about, you know, what cold story can I tell? What story from my childhood or story from a past relationship? I want to tell a story on this one and I need it to be heard. Now, from a mixing standpoint, the first thing that stands out to me is that you did some interesting things with the sample on this one that you didn't do with the other one that showed that you had greater control over this sample. You definitely made this sample your beat. I'm listening to it and I'm like, yo, the flanger effect that you added to certain parts, the chorus effect that you added, even the EQing that you did showed greater control over this. I would even probably argue that this beat is probably a lot more recent than Justice. But when I listen to this, I'm like, yeah, more of this. To me, this is more of a sound that immediately when I hear it, I'm like, okay, I need to do something with this, right? Now, from a mixing standpoint, the kick I feel like needs more presence. I feel like the 808 right now is just taking over a lot of space, but that kick just needs to come in. That kick is going to be really like when somebody resonates with a song like this, because I can even hear like a 4 over a beat like this. When somebody resonates with a song like this, that kick is going to tell a lot about why they resonate with it, because that kick is almost like the beginning of the momentum. Forget the hi-hats, forget the snares. It starts with that kick. And when that kick comes in strong, it's like, oh yeah, I feel that. And you can't even express why a kick, why such a, thin frequency could have that much control over your emotions. We can't even explain it. But the thing that we cannot deny is that it does have an effect on us, and having it really be soft here and not thumping through the mix is, I think, to your detriment on this, especially if you plan on selling your beats or even, like you said, perfecting your craft. But jumping that EQ, parametric equalizer 2 in the FL Studio, bump up that high bass to low mid frequency where you find the kicks, like things at the 2, even bump that 3 up a little bit more. The 3 frequency, I know you know what I'm talking about. Bump that up, and you're going to find that that kick has a different type of presence. Even the volume is going to go up, but I think it's more than turning the beat up. You want to get some more of the sweetest parts of this beat and even shaping this kick as well, which I have tutorials on. But thank you for sharing this. Your social media is twitter.com ace2131 or 2130. And then, yeah, your YouTube's right here. Let me subscribe to you, my friend. All right, well, then that was the last producer of the night. Once again, producers, thank you for submitting your beats. You just watched another episode of Critique, My Beats. You got to excuse me if I've not been myself today. This is a very active day today in which two very influential individuals within hip hop, one of which I actually knew about, I knew of his music, Triple X Tentacion passed away today. And it's just ever since my wife shared that information with me and I saw all over my timeline, it's just today just been a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a glaze, like a bit of a just blur. And it wasn't like I was the biggest fan, but just seeing someone that influential, especially to many producers that you guys submit beats, and I see you guys submit beats that are Triple X type beats. So obviously a lot of you guys are fans out there, and I'm sure a lot of you are hurt by this news. And I just want to make sure you know, no matter what, like, I try to create an environment that is troll free. I try to create an environment that is full of positivity. Even if it's not how the world realistically is, that's fine. We can control what we want this to be. But I make this environment specifically for you guys, the ones that struggle with things. I know someone even earlier here said that they deal with mental health issues. I don't take that lightly. I really try to hit those things head on. I hope you know that the advice that I give you is beyond just music. It's beyond just opinion. It's really me making sure that you're all right as a human being and you're all right as a person, right? I hope that after spending as much time as you spend with me, you see how much that I value my own self, my own life, my own family, the things that I love. I hope that you in your life, mirror these things and see that my influence is God. And this is why I am who I am. And I hope that you can see that for yourself, even if you can't relate it to God and you don't believe in God. This got real deep. But I want to say that because I know a lot of you guys are out there who are influenced, by these things and are hurt by these things that happen. These regardless of how you feel about the individual and the things he did when he was here, death is never a deserving end of anything that we do. I just feel like we're not the ones to give judge and jury. I'm sorry, I got real deep on this, but I had to share that. But either way, I hope that I provided you the best critiques that you could get from your man, Curtis King. If you're interested in being on a future episode, critiquemybeats.com. Look at the different price tiers that we have. See which one works best for you, and send it up. We'll see that your beat will show up within the next week and a half to 2 weeks. We still got about 9 more folks that have submitted, and we're gonna get to them this week again, and then possibly another time this week. We'll see. But either way, I want to say thank you for your positivity. Thank you for showing up here. Once again, this is Curtis King of CurtisKingBeats.com. Peace. And I do mean peace.